Welcome to another edition of the MSDW Podcast. Among the highlights this week, the Microsoft Partner Team Reorg, Microsoft takes on staffing and time management with StaffHub, and the SMB ERP shift to the cloud and what it means for Dynamics NAV and GP partners and customers. So let's go. I'm your host, Jason Gumpert, editor of MSDynamicsWorld.com. Joining me is Dann Maurno, assistant editor. Dan, what do we have first?
First, Jason, this was a story by you. Microsoft Partner Team Reorg, how it impacts Dynamics ERP and CRM leadership.
So there was an announcement of updated partner team leadership roles this week, and that was actually an announcement broken by Mary Jo Foley over at ZDNet. She got her hands on some internal announcements made at Microsoft. So this news came out about a week ago now, but still important to mention, I think. And those reorgs changed the way that the Worldwide Partner Group and the commercial business are being managed. A lot of it really seems to leave the Dynamics-related space unchanged, as we noted in the piece. There were some notable names, though, certainly people who are or have been involved on the Dynamics side of things. Ron Huddleston, for example, who joined in mid-2016 and was one of the most vocal people on Microsoft's management team when it came to the future of Dynamics, as they were sort of starting to unveil the 365 model and the AppSource model. He was brought in because of his experience at Salesforce with their own app store. He's now leading the quote-unquote one commercial partner business. That's the name of the business, the one commercial partner business. And that encompasses ISVs, the enterprise partner team, led by Victor Morales, who also joined Microsoft originally as a VP for Dynamics Partner Sales, and he's now got a broader role with the enterprise partner team, and also Gabriella Schuster's Worldwide Partner Group. So all of that falls under Ron Huddleston. Other elements of the Dynamics, I thought this was actually just a good time to sort of take a measure of who's leading various responsibilities with Dynamics. From what I found in talking to a few people, nothing really significant seems to have changed. So we have Frank Holland, who is still corporate vice president in charge of sales for the Dynamics space. We still know that the R&D team is largely unchanged, with Jujar Singh on the customer experience CRM side, Sri Srinivasan on the AX or 365 for operations side, and Marko Perisic on the program management R&D for the SMB ERP side. There are probably a couple others who I'm still trying to get sort of total confirmation on, but on the marketing side we have, I believe, Takeshi Numoto is sort of the top-level person for product marketing. A couple of notes of folks who are no longer in the dynamic space. One is Wayne Morris, who left the company in the last few months, and talking to some partners. One name that was brought up is Jeff Edwards, as not to have left, but as a leader in the group now, whose role appears to be Director of Worldwide Dynamics Partner Strategy and Programs, which seems to be a step up for Jeff, who's been a long time manager on the partner side for the Dynamics team. Another name that was mentioned, it was Tony DeFreitas, VP of Partner Sales and Partner Strategy. So yeah, I mean, still a lot of people involved in the Dynamics space on the Microsoft side, and it does tend to shift like this from time to time, but largely sort of the executive level changes don't seem to have impacted, at least as far as I've heard yet.
Okay, next up, Microsoft StaffHub promises better tools for shift workers and their managers. Could Dynamics 365 take advantage? And this is by you also, Jason.
Yeah, so the StaffHub announcement was one that caught my attention. I think it's interesting when the Office team puts out a new sort of purpose-built business application. They've done it at least once before with their bookings app, which came out 6 or 8 months ago, I think, and that was for allowing customers to book time at a business for services like getting your hair done, getting a massage, getting whatever kind of services that a company might want to offer to its customers, and doing it online and making it sort of very transparent, and all the data flowing through to the right places inside the business and to the customer. And this one is StaffHub, which allows managers to assign shifts to workers and allows workers to see that information, to see other kinds of information on an app as they're doing work. Like, for example, if there's an alert or a change of plans, they can get a message from their boss. If there's important documentation that they need to share, like corporate policies, they can share that through the app. And also, one of the most interesting things is workers can trade shifts right through the apps, I assume with some kind of controls on that. So, it's an interesting and seems like a pretty useful looking new app. It's offered for Office 365 customers. So if you have the right Office 365 license or plan, you just get this and you can turn it on or not turn it on, depending on whether it's useful for you and your business. One thing I thought was interesting is everyone who uses it, whether you're a worker or a manager, you have to have an Office 365 account. So I can imagine this not working for a lot of businesses where the workers are, maybe lower skill. They're just not on computers and don't have accounts. It kind of renders it. Seems like it would render it kind of useless. But anyway, anytime the Office team dips into what I would consider like real business applications, not just productivity, that's always sort of gets my attention anyway. And last time, the point I made in the article, last time they did it with bookings, the Nav team stepped up and built an integration, which I thought was really a nice thing to see. It really made me feel like the Nav teams, the Dynamics ERP team is paying attention to what the rest of Microsoft's doing and trying to show their role to play in it, and there certainly is one I could see. And also, gave I think the StaffHub announcement also kind of gave a bit of pause to think like, oh, well, are Microsoft really going to invest more in this kind of, worker human resources area that this sort of seems to nudge into? My view on that is no, it's not a real shift in any meaningful way. Yes, there's LinkedIn where there could be some HCM or capabilities. Yes, each of the individual Dynamics products has some extent of, not each, but some of them have a degree of HR management, but not like sort of full-fledged best of breed in any way. But anyway, it's just another opportunity to sort of look at that topic, which I think has been, people have been talking about when will Microsoft get a better HCM solution. They've been talking about that for years. I've chatted with people about that over the years, and I don't see that changing. But with a new and interesting app like this, I think it's worth paying attention if you're in the dynamic space to see what, if and when the R&D team choose to kind of make this play with 365 for financials, for example. It's probably the Dynamics app you would see first trying to touch something like this.
Yeah, I just read this week that Chronos has turned 40, and it used to be, essentially, if you read a human capital management story, it was Chronos. So, I'm a little surprised. Well, I guess I'm pleased to see that there's that field is widening some.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, interestingly, that's the one integration that they did announce for the StaffHub was one of the Chronos products that it can take. Yeah, that's the one. It doesn't integrate with Dynamics, but it does integrate with Chronos. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. So let's move on. Next, successful SMB ERP partners will embrace market shift to cloud apps like Dynamics 365, says Microsoft GM Paul White. And this was an interview by Gus Krabenborg, who's a partner in Quattro Business Solutions.
So this was an interview that Gus did back in October 2016, so it's not brand new, but it's new to a lot of our readers who didn't see the QBS Group report on Directions EMEA 2016, which took place in the fall of last year. Gus had he had a couple of very good interviews, one of them which we'd already published with Marco Perisic, and this one with Paul White. Really is partner focused, and I know we have a couple of other articles queued up here to talk about, and this one and the next two are all really get to the same topic, which is trying to parse out the future for partners, the future for customers in the Dynamics ERP space, specifically in the SMB segment. And the things Paul has to say in this interview are important. I mean, and they really do speak to, since this was done, like three months ago or so, you can look back and see what he said, and with a little bit of hindsight now, see that Microsoft has stayed consistent on a lot of the points he makes in this piece. So worth a read to know where Microsoft's positioning is and sort of how they definitely do see the channel changing. They see their direction can only be supported by a certain number of today's Dynamics NAV partners, for example. They don't expect all NAV partners to come with them into the grand future of cloud ERP and Dynamics 365. And the ones that do, they're prescribing some very specific changes that they need to undertake from their CSP, the Cloud Solution Provider program, that they have to get on board with if they just want to sell it. There's AppSource for marketing and selling, IP in ISV solutions essentially. And then there's this whole mindset of changing to a marketing mindset or a marketing first organization as opposed to a sales first organization, which is something that Paul White characterizes, I would say.
Very good. Very good. Next up, Microsoft Dynamic GP's future is secure, says new GPUG board chair Rick Zich. And I hope I've pronounced that correctly. We thought maybe it's Zich. But Rick Zich says the future has a place for both Dynamics 365 and GP. Rick is taking over for Aaron Back, who is, this didn't make it into the article, but Aaron is very much a BI zealot, and he'll be moving over to the Power BI UG, which is pretty new. Rick you'd know as, maybe as the president of Cooper's DIY, but probably better as the president of Mr. Beer. They offer this home brewing kit that's available from 14,000 retail locations around the nation and online. And Rick and Mr. Beer is a fiercely loyal Dynamics GP user company ever since Zich implemented the solution in 2012. And in the interview, Rick called for calm about Dynamics 365 and the rumors of GP's decline. He said of Dynamics 365, "I really wish these experienced people who are passionate about the product would realize that a product doesn't mature overnight." He more or less said that it takes a decade of constant updates, upgrades, patches to get it where it needs to be. And GP's main strength is that it's already there. It's been around a long time. It's reliable. There's a strong ISV community around it. Works and has, of course, this very enthusiastic zealotry about it. So he doesn't feel that GP is going anywhere. That's a story that's come up a few times.
It has. I mean, in our last podcast, we heard a very similar sentiment about another customer's use of GP. A lot of very happy customers, users at Hunt Brothers Pizza, for example, and they're happy with the productivity tools they have from Microsoft. They're happy with the GP solution that they have. And as Jeff Fry from Hunt Brothers told us, they want to move at their own pace, and the message that they're getting from Microsoft isn't necessarily one that aligns with their plans, and I think it's causing some friction, but I think both Rick and Jeff are right. There's years and years of life left in these products. I think the bigger question is maybe the feed into to the next article, which is where the priority is going to be shifting to when it comes to Microsoft themselves and their partners. Right? As well loved as GP is, I think that's a different story that might start to sort of have consequences, or might start to show itself in different ways that customers and partners may or may not like.
Indeed. And Jeff Fry of Hunt Brothers Pizza last week, very colorful. If folks haven't had a chance to listen, it's an entertaining 40 minutes.
Yeah.
As well as a...
One of the takeaways I had from it in thinking after we had that conversation was, he's doing a lot of the things that Microsoft actually encourages. I think Microsoft tends to push so hard on certain ideas that it just gets, it sort of spoils the fun to an extent for someone like Jeff, who's very forward-thinking in certain ways. He is moving his system to the private cloud, or some kind of cloud. I actually didn't even get into exactly what kind of environment he's moving it to, but GP is no longer on premise. It's GP that's hosted somewhere, and that's really one of the key steps, I think, for a company like his that is looking to make important IT decisions about investment in hardware versus investment in cloud resources. But he doesn't see public cloud in his future. So to the extent that Microsoft and their partners can make those things available, and the reality is they will, and that will continue. Really, I mean, who sees private cloud or hosted applications going away? I mean, that's just not the case, right? But when he listens to Microsoft's messaging, that's the sense he gets, is that they're trying to push him even past that into all public cloud all the time.
Yeah, indeed, including for the first couple of hours in a keynote at GPUG Summit, which
that was the more I hear, the less well I think that went. At least for GP customers who were there, they did not like that launch event one bit.
It was like playing a movie without the subtitles, a foreign film without the subtitles, kind of.
It was not landing with that audience, I don't think. And, he's got some good evidence backing him up. When you look at the AX message, I mean, it's mostly you're moving to the public cloud if you want to stick with AX. Not to jump ahead too far, but with CRM, I think there's some signs that, on-premise CRM will become less and less palatable, or less and less attractive an option over time, perhaps. I'll know more when I do a little more reporting on it, but that's another one. Now, GP, I think GP is a special case. I think Nav, again, is probably a special case to some extent, but they're sort of caught in the same messaging prism, whatever you want to call it, hall of mirrors.
Sure. Next up, another story about Dynamics 365 momentum. How far away is the Microsoft Dynamics 365 for Financials train? This is by James Crowter, Managing Director of Technology Management over in the UK.
So James Crowter submitted another great piece for us. He's a Microsoft MVP with a specialty in Dynamics Nav, and he's got a keen eye for both the business and the product and technical sides of the Dynamics Nav and Dynamics 365 business. He's been watching both very carefully, and his projection is that 365 for Financials, which is right now an SMB product that is more limited in terms of features and capabilities than Nav, is going to make up that ground very quickly, probably more quickly than most partners expect it to, and that in 12 to 18 months, customers are going to potentially be choosing 365 for Financials over traditional NAV in most cases, just based on, I guess, a constellation of reasons or justifications ranging from functional parity to much more attractive pricing to some of the upcoming sort of architectural decisions in the 365 for Financials space. James has probably more credibility than almost anybody outside of Microsoft about where this is really going in these particular products. So if you haven't read his piece and you are a Nav customer or a Nav partner, or even on the GP side, well worth a read. It's the kind of insight that is really a joy to publish because it's so valuable. That was one that was really great to put up in the last week or so.
Yeah, I always enjoy reading James. I feel more schooled or more learned once I'm done. Okay. Next up is Hightech Manufacturing, the case for Microsoft Dynamics 365 to reach beyond the four walls. This is actually a taste of a webcast coming up on Wednesday, January 25th, and here we interviewed Chris Moore of Armanino. Chris and his team will be spearheading the webcast. Chris talked about how high-tech companies think, semiconductors work very closely with vendors, distributors, customers. They've got managed inventory not only in their own warehouses and plants, but also with their suppliers and distributors. And some are partnered with customers to design components. So they're very highly connected businesses with deep supply chains, and they require an open infrastructure to manage all that. And Armanino feels that those companies can leverage Dynamics 365 to manage all of that, the distributors, the customer relationships, tracking point-of-sale data, end customers. They can produce quotes, develop special pricing agreements. They can do all of that within Dynamics 365. But this still requires some finessing. Dynamics 365, of course, has been built on an extensible platform with shared data and digital intelligence. And some of the capabilities that Chris will be talking about are built, say, by Armanino with the CRM-related apps in Dynamics 65, the extensible XRM apps. And here in particular, the sales app. Among some of the templates that Armanino's built out for the sales apps are ones for warranty management, return merchandise authorization, reverse logistics, install-based tracking. So those are the kind of things that, again, if you're going to have that deep supply chain, these are all the ancillaries. These are what your partners expect from you, and these can be built out handily, I guess, using these extensible XRM apps.
It's interesting to see whenever a partner dips into both the ERP and the CRM side when it comes to manufacturing, because there are so many CRM opportunities, CRM-related, I guess, opportunities in these manufacturing firms. When you think about not only their suppliers, but their customers, and their customers have these sort of roles that aren't traditional sales relationships or customer service relationships that are sort of the vanilla CRM types of relationships, but they're still customer service and they're still relationship management and they're still customers. So it's probably seems like a big opportunity still. I mean, it's something that's been talked about for years, but kind of one of the less obvious but big opportunities for these high-tech manufacturers.
Yeah, and I keep hearing that supply chain is a laggard industry. Well, to me, supply chain isn't really an industry. Supply chain is, you produce, again, semiconductors, you've got a supply chain. It's a function, and it's one that I think is reaching that tipping point where the big manufacturers and the small ones are asking, are you telling me I can't do that online? Right. I can't manage my inventory in your warehouse? Why not? So this is an impressive story. I kind of believe that this is, Dynamics 365 is where this might become absolutely commodity.
Well, I think there are certainly more tools now. So with some of the firms that really do specialize in this particular vertical, they're taking the initiative, right, to use some of the tools, not just the core 365 for operations or the sales app, but probably some of the related or peripheral sort of supporting technologies like maybe Power Apps or Azure Logic Apps, or some of the other cloud services to really augment it and then build their IP on top of that. So it should be interesting. I think it really is a new era for those kinds of offerings.
Yeah, and I got a feeling they're going to be coming fast and furious.
That webcast is on Wednesday, January 25th, right?
It is indeed. It is indeed. And finally, we've got Building a Microsoft Dynamics Practice from the Ukraine. InnoWare celebrates 15 years in business. This was by you.
So I noticed the announcement by InnoWare that they had just celebrated their 15-year anniversary, and I'm learning a little bit more about them. I realized they're a company founded in Ukraine and doing business there over the last 15 years. And I thought, boy, that's a really interesting span of time to be doing business in Ukraine, a place founding just a few years after, quite a few years, but not too long after the fall of the Soviet Union and all the changes in the marketplace and the business climate in that country after that, and they built up a robust and very current Dynamics practice as a Microsoft partner that involves doing translations for their doing localization of NAV software and maybe AX for their country, which they took on themselves, and that's one of their lines of business. And they've expanded. I think they started with AX, and they added NAV, and they added CRM. I think they've even added some other Microsoft solutions in their portfolio. They've expanded geographically over that time. They had to face some really hard setbacks, I think, in the 2007, 2008 timeframe, with a lot of pain that they had to endure because of the larger business climate. And so just an interesting chance to hear from their founder, Dmitro Papanako, who did the interview with me. Mm-hmm. So worth a read. It's a story of building a Microsoft partner business in a part of the world that I personally don't hear a lot about on a daily basis. So it was a good opportunity for me to learn, and hopefully some of our readers.
Yeah, Ukraine is kind of a beachhead like Dublin, Ireland, a place that maybe wasn't top of mind for anybody, but in both these places, I think a lot of partners popped up right when Dynamics came out, which was about 15 years ago.
And Dmitry even talks about, when he founded the company, it was like a wide open field. It was like a green field, sort of untouched in terms of ERP solutions that he, and I think in a previous role he was in before he founded InnoWare, where they really just moved in and sort of formed that industry in the country and in some of the surrounding countries when it started, and I think it's matured very quickly since then.
Sure. Well, let's look at next week. Jason, what stories do you have?
So one I'm looking forward to is a new piece looking at the next stage of Dynamics CRM on-premise licensing and packaging. So it's now becoming Dynamics 365 on-premise, and we're going to be looking at trying to answer some questions about what that really means for CRM on-premise customers when they do try to upgrade to the 365 moniker, and how it's going to be changing for them and what that transition is going to look like. Also, we have a couple of webcasts that I'm looking forward to, including the one that you mentioned from Armanino. So we should have a full schedule on our webcast calendar as well.
Fantastic. I'll be looking at an intriguing case study of an implementation rescue. This is from the folks at Catapult ERP. They use the waterfall approach to implementation. And we talked to their project manager and a customer called Precision Gutters who tried to implement a nav and finally said, enough already, called the folks at Catapult who came in and rescued the implementation. So that's a fascinating story. And then we're going to do some National Retail Foundation Big Show follow-up, and we'll be talking with Hickory Farms and Verifone for a deeper dive into their case studies and announcements. Hickory Farms apparently is really putting the retail capabilities of Dynamics 365 absolutely through its paces. So that'll be a fascinating tale.
Thanks, Dan. So I do look forward to hearing more about it. Those retail stories always are great for the way they're forward-thinking and taking on new ideas. So let's wrap up. This has been another episode of the MSDW Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to be on the podcast, maybe you're an ISV with a product release, a consultant with a case study, or a VAR with a unique slant on the Dynamics space, drop us a line. You can reach me, Jason Gumpert, editor, at jgumpert@MSDynamicsWorld.com.
And I'm Dan Maurno, assistant editor at DMAURNO at MSDynamicsWorld.com.
Until next time, we're MS Dynamics World signing off.
I see the road is long, so get on my side. There's a whole lot of walking to do if we stay